At the risk of stating the obvious, the Bible's a pretty important book. Whether you accept it as authoritative or not, or as sacred or not, it has done much to shape the course of world culture and history. It has been translated into 250 different languages, with over 5 billion copies printed. It has provided a treasure trove of stories and imagery that has enriched world literature and philosophy. And for the Church, it has been a source for instruction and inspiration, as well as mystery and wonder. However it has been received, the Bible has always made for interesting reading in our journey along the road. The Bible includes some wonderful stories, like the Tower of Babel, the sacrifice of Isaac, the Great Flood, the Garden of Eden, and many, many others. Stories such as these seem, for the most part, readily accessible and understandable. Other parts of the Bible, however, are less clear or downright mystifying. The 7th through the 12th chapters of Daniel speak in cryptic terms of great beasts and world powers. There's a great lion with eagle wings, a bear with sharp tusks and teeth, a 4-headed winged leopard, and another beast with iron teeth and 10 horns. Ezekiel tries to describe a vision of a fiery chariot, with wheels within wheels moving in impossible ways and animated by the spirits of 4 multi-faced, multi-winged creatures. And perhaps most famously in Revelation, a book awash in strange images and creatures and landscapes. What did the authors have in mind when they related these imageries? How are we to understand them now? Through the generations, many interpreters have mined scriptures for clues with which to understand such images and lay bare their mysteries. One such method of mystical interpretation was what the Jews called Gematria, a sort of literary mathematics. The Hebrew name Gematria may have been derived from the Greek Gematria, from which we get our word geometry, or possibly from grammatia, knowledge of writing. The two possibilities point to the dual nature of the Hebrew language, in which letters are also used as numbers. As such, the numerical equivalents of the letters of a word or phrase can be added up and manipulated to render numbers and meanings of significance. For instance, in Genesis 14, it says that when Abram heard that his kinsman Lot had been taken captive, he armed the men who had been born in his house, 318, and pursued Lot's captors. 318 seems an oddly specific number. Practitioners of Gematria look to it for a clue to a hidden meaning. Abram's servant is named Eliezer, and by adding up the numerical equivalents of the letters in his name, one reaches the sum of 318, indicating, so they suggest, that Abram actually took only his servant Eliezer in pursuit of his nephew Lot. Likewise in Genesis 32, where Jacob sends a message to his brother Esau saying, I sojourned with Laban. Adding up the numerical values for the letters I sojourned, it comes to 613, which is the number of commandments specified in the Torah. Interpreters took this to suggest that during his time with Laban, Jacob kept all 613 of the commandments. Interpreters also looked to Gematria to suggest connections between text and ideas. In Genesis 28, we find the story of Jacob's dream in which he sees a ladder set up between earth and heaven. The letters of the Hebrew word for ladder add up to the same as the letters for Sinai, suggesting, they claim, that the law revealed on Mount Sinai likewise provides a means by which humans can reach heaven. Again, The name Elohim adds up to the number 86, which equals the value of the word hateva, nature. This equivalence leads to the conclusion that Elohim refers to the divine presence as it manifests in the physical world, as opposed to the name Yahweh, which connects to the heavenly universe. With such examples, it may seem strange and contrived, whereas other examples in Scripture leave little doubt that they were indeed intended to be interpreted in such a manner. The Apostle John wrote his book of Revelation during the time of the first great Roman persecution of Christians. In it, he describes a mysterious and terrifying beast rising from the sea. And I saw a beast rising out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads, and on its horns were 10 diadems, and on its heads were blasphemous names. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. And the dragon gave it its power, and his throne, and great authority. What are we to make of this strange vision? John goes on to say that this calls for wisdom. Let anyone with understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a person. Its number is 666. At the time John was writing, Christians were being persecuted by the Roman Emperor Nero. At a time when it was dangerous to express anti-Roman sentiments, John used Gematria to lead his readers to identify his terrifying beast with Nero. Adding up the letters of the emperor's name comes to 666. Lest there be any doubt, most ancient manuscripts of the book of Revelation do indeed record the number of the beast as 666. But some other manuscripts record the number as 616. The reason for this can be found in the different languages in use at the time. Nero Caesar, rendered into Latin, becomes Neron Caesar, which, when transliterated into Hebrew, adds up to 666, the number we find in the majority of ancient manuscripts. However, the same name rendered into Greek is Nero Caesar, with the second N dropped. Transliterated into Hebrew, it now adds up to the 616 recorded in the remaining manuscripts. Of course, such esoteric interpretation of Scripture can be overdone. During the 2016 presidential campaign, a person used Gematria in a tongue-in-cheek effort to predict the outcome. Transliterating Donald Trump into Hebrew and adding up the numerical values, it comes to 424, the same number as the title Messiah, Son of David. Of course, 424 is also the sum of bad candidate, or clown demon. Hillary Clinton's name added up to 510, the same as she will be queen. So make of it what you will. Much fun has been had with the fact that the letters for Google add up to 42, which in Douglas Adams' science fiction classic, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is the ultimate answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything. Again, my name adds up to 42 as well, so make of that what you will. What does all this mean for us? Perhaps not much. However, for us children of the Enlightenment, who value logic, fact, and evidence above all else, it does suggest that Scripture may be open to a broader range of interpretation than we at first bring to it. The light of mathematical and mystical interpretation can illuminate Scripture in ways that may bring added depth to our understanding. There is no right or wrong way to look at Scripture. However we look at it, however, we must always approach Scripture with humility, never presuming to know exactly what it says, but rather hoping to encounter there the God who continues to speak to us, each of us, in new and sometimes startling ways. When the resurrected Christ encountered his disciples on the road to Emmaus, he interpreted the Scriptures for them in such a way that their hearts burned within them, and they came to understand them in a whole new way. That same Christ continues to open the Scriptures for us as he walks beside us along the road.